Hello everyone, Lewis from MAN Aviation here, back with another trip report. We are once again at Manchester Airport and we'll be taking a flight over to Brussels this morning on Brussels Airlines on one of their Airbus A320s. Now, from a personal point of view, I've not flown with Brussels since 2019, so it's a good time, I think, to check them out, see if anything has changed, the onboard service, and just see what Belgium's national carrier is like nowadays. I think ever since COVID, or at least maybe even in the past sort of 10 years, but certainly since COVID, a lot of these European national airlines have come under quite a bit of scrutiny from passengers, most notably when it comes to cost cutting and the onboard service. It just seems to be getting ever more gradually, you're not getting as much for your money, a lot of people say. And when you're paying the prices that some of these airlines are charging, I'll go into the price of this flight at the end of the video, but people just want value for money, especially when they're paying more to fly with these airlines over the likes of Ryanair and EasyJet. And it does beg the question, is flying with Ryanair and EasyJet just as good as flying with a national carrier? So we'll uncover that in today's video. Now, I may as well point it out, given we stayed here in the last video. We're staying at the Premier Inn over at Manchester Airport. It isn't really in walking distance of any of the three terminals. It's sort of out of the way. The closest terminal walking distance wise is Terminal 2, and even that's about a 20-minute walk. Now, in peak summer, it might be quite a pleasant walk, but when this was shot in early January, when it was very cold temperatures, that morning it was about -8 degrees, so very cold, it's not suitable. And there is a shuttle service to the terminals. However, it isn't free. You do have to pay for it. I mean, it is a budget hotel, so like with budget airlines, you do have to sort of pay everything extra. So I do understand it, but it is a little bit out of the way. But I do recommend it. It's quite cheap, quite affordable, and Premier Inn always offers consistent products. Not sponsoring them, by the way, but thought I might as well plug it. We'll be flying out of Terminal 2 once again this morning, which, as mentioned in the last video, is my favourite out of the three terminals at Manchester. It is the most modern. It's still getting modernised. Later this year, a whole host of new shops and new gates for the aircraft to park on will all be opened up. So hopefully by the end of the year, it will look like a really, really good, complete terminal. I was through security in under 5 minutes that morning, thanks to the new scanners that are installed at Terminal 2. Ironically though, however, one of the lanes did break, so all our stuff had to be put onto another lane and pass through that x-ray. So a little bit of fun and games this morning, but through very fast nonetheless. Now, as I mentioned before and in the previous trip reports that I've done, Terminal 2 at the moment isn't fully complete. It's mostly complete. You've got a duty-free area, a few shops, and then you've got three different boarding gates that you can go from. You've got the old bit of Terminal 2, which spans gates 201 to 208. Then you've got the downstairs B gates, which are the remote boarding gates. And then you've got the A gates over on the 2019 opened pier. So you may have a little bit of a walk to your gate at the moment at T2. It should change when they're building a new pier, which when that's complete, if you're going from that gate, any of those gates, you shouldn't have a far walk at all. But yeah, it can be a little bit of a walk, as you will see in this trip report with the gate that we ended up getting given for this flight. So do leave, I say, plenty of time to get to the gates. It is signposted how long it takes to get to sort of say the far gate, so they do give a little bit of an estimation. But yeah, just make sure you do leave plenty of time to get down to those gates. We'll be leaving from gate 202 this morning, which, along with 201, is the furthest possible gate from the main departures area here at Terminal 2. I mean, you just couldn't write it, could you? Now, the routes for this, as much as it is temporary, that shouldn't be an excuse for how inaccessible it is. Now, I'm not going to include it all because it is a genuinely 10 to 15 minute walk to this gate. But you go, as you saw there, down the escalators from the main departure area. You end up back at security, and then you head down to where the old stands are. But because of all the works that are going on, you get like redirected, and it ends up being a bit of a maze. Where some of the old stands on Terminal 2, I think there's 8 stands still in use, but I think there's about, I think, like 13 there in total, and like the stairwells for them are still there. So you'll get like herded through those stairwells. You end up down on where the old arrivals bit used to be, so the arrivals corridor to the old immigration, which is half boarded up. That's where you get sent down to. You go along there, up another sort of stairway in a jet bridge, and then you end up back on the upstairs gate level, and then you've got the gates along there. There are toilets there, but that is it. I mean, there are signs saying to not go down there unless you have a gate down there, which makes perfect sense. But if you're a passenger with reduced mobility, or even if you have a light suitcase with you, it's a little bit of a faff. I mean, I flew from one of these gates when I went to Antalya last month, and I had a suitcase with me. Now I've got no mobility problems. I can lift things fine and everything. But with the amount of steps you have to climb up, it's a little bit pedestrian like, and it gets quite crowded. And like, I know it's only temporary, and like, I think by the summer this will be the things will still be there, but you'll be sent through a new route, so it's not here for long. But like I say, if you've got any difficulty with carrying big things, or if you've got reduced mobility, it's really not a great way. I mean, there are lifts, but even so, it's just not that user friendly, and it takes a bit of time as well. But anyway, like I say, I'm not going to leave it all in. As you can see now, we've gone down a set of stairs, and then you get down this corridor, up some more steps, and then you get into the departures where the gates are. So yeah, it's a little bit of a trek. Again, do leave enough time to get to this gate. You really do not want to be running through crowds of people down one of these corridors. Now, I'm not really going to blame anyone for this, but gates 201 and 202 are located side by side. Now, on that pier alone, from memory, only one of the other 6 or so stands was actually taken by another flight. The others were just empty gates, but they just so obviously happened to put these 2 flights leaving at exactly the same time right next to each other, ours and a TUI flight to Verona. Now, these 2 gate areas aren't separated whatsoever. There was no barriers, there was no lanes, passengers were just mixed together. There was no any form of queuing system. It just all ended up being a complete free-for-all. But surely, someone with a brighter brain would have put one of these flights on another gate to ease congestion. I mean, we are in winter. We're not in summer where there's there's planes on every single gate and on every single remote gate. I mean, like I say, that row of gates, only one other was taken. But it just so happened that they had to put both of these next to each other at the same time. It was just, I'm looking at it more as just bad luck, but it just really doesn't make much sense. And as you can see, it got a bit chaotic. I thought the people just to the left of us here, I thought they were on our flight, but they were in the queue for the TUI flight. So it just goes to show, and it doesn't help that both flights were full as well. I say that my flight coming back from Brussels the day after, there was only about 30 people on it, so it was completely empty, whereas the one this morning was completely full. We was called for boarding around half an hour before departure. Now, a lot of airlines nowadays, I say nowadays because up until about a year or 2 ago, this was never sort of an issue. But a lot of airlines, as you can see now, will check the passport and put your boarding pass side by side to check the names of everything. I often make the mistake nowadays of just going straight to scan my boarding pass and let the gate agent check the passport. So this caused a little bit of frustration for the guy at the desk. I had to scan it again just to make sure I was the person. what is written in my passport. But yeah, I suppose that was my own fault. And also just a warning for anyone travelling now. A lot of airlines do make you do it. Jet2, I know, check it side by side. I say that, Ryanair still don't. So you won't have it all the time, but it seems to be a sort of recurring theme nowadays. So always sort of don't rush the process. Just go by whatever the gate agent tells you to. Now, I don't know if you can see it on the footage here, but the jet bridge was quite... Well, somehow there was like ice in it. I mean, it was absolutely freezing. But it was weird. It was like someone came in and just sprinkled a load of ice on the jet bridge. So, yeah, but thankfully we weren't in there for very long. I mean, a lot of airlines, they will make you wait in the jet bridge, EasyJet being one of them, boarding but not boarding. But I mean, with Brussels Airlines being a national airline, they don't tend to do boarding but boarding kind of thing. So we was through on quite quickly, which I'm quite thankful for. I don't mind waiting in summer where it's not cold, it's quite pleasant, but in the midst of winter, it's certainly not a pleasant wait if you're having to wait around for a while. Our aircraft for this morning's flight will be operated by a 15-year-old Airbus A320 Oscar Sierra November Oscar, which was originally delivered to Alitalia in April 2009, before ending up with Pegasus in June 2015, and then ending up with its current operator, Brussels Airlines, in August 2022. 3 months later, in November of that year, it was painted into the Red Devils and Red Flames livery, which is there to represent Belgium's men and women's national football team. So quite cool to be flying on this aircraft. It bears the name Trident. Now, as you can see now, but you will also see later in the video, the overhead bins do feature a few factoids about each of their players, such as their favourite destination, date of birth, and a few other facts as well. But we will look more into that later in the video. But yeah, quite cool that they've decided to bring the special livery onto the inside. I wish more airlines would do this nowadays. But yeah, it is the aircraft used to transport both the teams whenever they're playing in tournaments such as any, Euro or World Cup competitions. So, the likes of Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku have been on this aircraft. So that was, as a big football fan myself, it's quite something quite interesting to me as well. Brussels Airlines seat 180 passengers on their Airbus A320s, and with their business class, which is the sort of intra-European business class, which features a blocked middle seat, which is disliked by a lot of people, that can be moved back and forth depending on demand. I think from memory there was around 7 rows of business on this flight, which was more than I thought it would be. On my flight home, I think there was only 3 rows, for example.
In case of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop down from the panel above. Céline Van der Steen prévoit un temps de vol de 1 heure et 5 minutes. Je m'appelle Annabelle Gard. Au-dessus de vous, merci. Dames en heren, ik ga nu de oorverlichting dimmen. Dit is een normaal procedure wordt op sterren en het land tijdens nacht. U vindt een knopje van uw leeslampje boven uw denkuur. devices to be switched off. Please review the safety briefing card and remember to leave all your hand luggage on board should there be the need for an evacuation after landing. Now check that your hand luggage is stowed correctly. Put your seat upright, lower the armrests, fold away your table and open all window blinds. Fasten your seatbelt low and tight around your waist. Thank you. Apologize for the late arrival of this flight. We ask you to remain seated and keep your seatbelt fastened low and tight around your waist until we switch off the fasten seatbelt sign. Your laptops and larger devices must remain stowed. Be careful when opening an overhead locker, items could fall out. We thank you for flying Brussels Airlines, Starlines member. We wish you a very good day. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, bye-bye. Billy, wait. I'm going to get a video. get sent to. You know what? I can't remember where we get sent here. Oh yeah, no, I think it is arrivals. Ethiopian 350.
Hello.
Oh, we get another. Yeah, get a picture from it anyway. It's fine. I'm stopping. And there you have it, Manchester to Brussels on Brussels Airlines on one of their Airbus A320s. Overall, positive experience. I can't really have many complaints apart from the delay that we had, but that was due to us having to wait for the de-icing at Manchester. So all out of Brussels Airlines' control. Now, what I did find strange was a lot of people on our flight were connecting from Brussels. Now, Brussels Airlines' long-haul network isn't as vast as the likes of KLM, Lufthansa and British Airways. I think their main focus is flights into Africa. They're flying to a lot of different countries in Africa. I don't think they fly anywhere to the US. I might be wrong on that, so feel free to correct me. But I don't think they do. So it's either you're connecting into flights to Africa or elsewhere in Europe. So I didn't think there'd be that many passengers connecting, but there was lots, and you could tell we were sat sort of in the middle, and all the passengers at the back, because we got off at a jet bridge at Brussels. There was no rear stairs attached. And with us being delayed, a lot of passengers were going to miss their connections. So just before we started our descent, the cabin crew let the passengers move to any available seats at the front. I think they filled the business class seats, to be honest, because it was quite a full flight, so I couldn't imagine there was many left in the economy section. But the passengers just filtered through there. Some had to come back because there was no more room at the front. But there was loads. I'd say at least a good 40% of people on our flight were connecting, so it was strange. The crew did accommodate them as best they could, gave announcements on the tannoy, what gate then their next flights would be leaving from, and so on and so forth. So I can't fault the crew. They were very helpful and professional. In terms of the onboard service, with it being, just to buy on board and no complimentary food or drink, a little bit disappointing. I know British Airways still offers a complimentary snack and a water, for example. I will be trying out KLM later this year, but the last time I flew them in 2019, you got a complimentary sandwich, drink and a snack. So it'll be interesting to see if that has changed, but it's disappointing to see that you don't even get a bottle of water or a snack for free on Brussels Airlines. In terms of the price I paid for this flight, which was £65 one way, which for Brussels Airlines is pretty decent, to be honest. I've looked in the past and sometimes their fares will be as high as £200-250 one way, so it's just about looking at the right time. I took this flight in January and the flights were booked back in August. So we did book quite way in advance, but sometimes that doesn't really matter. You'll still look far ahead and the flights will still be quite expensive. So it's just about finding the sort of right time to book them. We didn't book them in any sort of sale. Prices happened to be low when we checked. Ryanair do also fly from Manchester to Brussels, but they fly into Charleroi, which is around about a 45-minute drive from the centre of Brussels. I have flown into there before. It's not the best airport, if I'm honest. I mean, it's a small regional airport designed for budget carriers, so it's not going to be as good as any main airport. But if I had to choose between Ryanair and Brussels Airlines, in terms of the price, for what I paid, £65, I would certainly pay that again just to fly into this the centre airport. With Ryanair, you can get flights as low as £15, but I don't think I'd pay any more than, say, £80 to fly with Brussels Airlines. I can't see the value being, too great, especially given you're not getting any onboard service or anything. You're just paying for the convenience of flying into a central airport, and even then you still have to get we hired a car, so I can't say for certain, but you'll be either still have to get a train or a bus into the centre. Charleroi has a bus service between there and the city centre, and also other destinations within Belgium, so despite being quite out of the way, it is still quite well connected. So if you do arrive there and you need to get into the city centre, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, would I fly with Brussels Airlines again? Yes, but only at the price I paid. I'd pay maybe about £15 on top of what I paid, but I wouldn't pay any more than that. It's just not worth the money, in my opinion. But nonetheless, it was a good experience, good crew, smooth flight. And I do recommend Brussels Airlines for anyone wanting to fly with them. But anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching. I believe the next trip report will be the return of this flight that I took, which I'm pleased to say was on time, and it was quite an empty flight, so it was quite a pleasant one to take. So do stay tuned for that. It should be up within the next few days. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.